Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming here. I'm Angelo Castillo. I'm your mayor. And this is the fourth in a series of town hall meetings that we're holding. The first series of town hall meetings was about talking to you about what was important to residents throughout the city. And we took a lot of time and effort to try and get that down precisely. We did a survey of residents throughout the city. And it is that has about 170,000 residents, more or less now. When you do surveys of this kind and you want a statistically accurate representation of what's on people's minds, the accountants generally agree that about 500 responses is what you're looking for. 500 responses allows you to make some assumptions about what's on people's minds in a statistically accurate way. This is a city that is very, very careful about presenting a budget and a spending plan that is based on conservative budgeting principles. The next issue was affordable housing. And I have to tell you, I've done this survey before. And in the past, affordable housing wasn't even in the top 10. But now it's a very significant issue. Not just for seniors who live on fixed incomes, but increasingly for young people. I'm sure you've noticed if you live in single-family communities, and even in some of our condos, there are young people in their 20s, sometimes in their 30s, who are forced to continue living at home. Not because they're shiftless. Oh, no, no, no. They're working and they're earning, but they cannot afford to go off on their own. And this is a problem. And I'll tell you what the problem comes from that. We now see that people are getting married later, they're starting families later, they're making fewer kids. And this is a huge change in economic dynamic for the city. Think about all the clothing stores that we have here in Pembroke Pines. I can tell you that people over 60 don't buy a lot of clothes.
It's a nationwide problem.
It is. But I can also tell you that people in their 40s buy some more, but not so much. The majority of clothing that's sold is sold to children. Why? Because they outgrow it. And also because they wear it harder than adults do. Fewer kids mean fewer stores. Fewer stores mean fewer jobs. Fewer jobs mean fewer restaurants. Everything in a community like ours is connected in one way or the other, even if you don't see the connections. We've got the school board of Broward County talking consistently about maybe we need to start closing some schools. When I moved to Broward County in 1996, the Broward County School Board District, which I root for every day, was underperforming and over-enrolled. There were too many kids, too few schools underperforming. Now, they're well-performing schools, and they're under-enrolled because we're generating fewer kids. Housing is the reason for that. And every city has to figure out a way to deal with this problem. Like the gentleman said, it's a nationwide concern. But in my view, and hopefully yours as well, every city should take care of their own families, their own seniors, their own young people. Not bringing folks in from other areas, but our own. And if every city just took care of their own, we'd be in much better shape. Because affordable housing, taxes, and traffic is important to you, because you told us that, it's important to us. Recycling and trash services, another thing that used to be on automatic pilot. Now all of a sudden we're not recycling anymore. One lady told me she felt cheated. I asked her, what do you feel cheated? She said, well, my youngest son, I'm just bringing him up now. We didn't count on him. But his older brothers and sisters, she told me, for as long as I can remember, I used to tell them, no, Janie, you don't put the bottle in the green. You put the bottle in the blue bin. Now, that seems like a small thing, right? But what she was telling me was that physical act of putting the bottle into the proper bin was a way for her to teach her children about stewardship and the environment. And now she doesn't have that anymore because everything goes into the same bin because it all goes to an incinerator, except in Pembroke Pines, we don't incinerate anything. But she felt that she was cheated. And I'll just never forget that conversation. So very, very important. We have to get back to recycling the waste or we will be inundated with smoke. And this is a city that opposes incineration anywhere near us. So that is a major issue, and we have to find the right answer. Flooding. I've said this many times before. There seems to be some debate about, thank you for coming. There seems to be some debate about whether global warming is a theory that is blown out of proportion or whether it's a real thing. I'm not here to convince you of that. You're entitled to your own view and your own research. I'm here to tell you that rain is measured in inches. We're getting more rain. And when you get that much more rain, last year I think we had 88 inches of rain in an area that usually only gets 57, 60 inches of rain. When you get that much more rain, the drainage system is pushed to the hilt. We need to be able to partner with organizations like the South Broward Drainage District, which does a great job, with the South Florida Water Management District, and with others to pinpoint the spots within our city that flood pretty regularly and abate that flooding. Because it's not going to happen on its own. It has to be done. The next issue was public safety. We have the pleasure and the pride of a police and fire department. I'm telling you, they are fantastic. We need more of them. But we also have to give them the tools that they need in order to keep us safer. Today in policing, technology is all the rage. There are 1,000 different ways that had never been thought of before to keep you safer using technology. They must have the facilities that are necessary in order to deliver to you a safer community at a time when there's a feeling, the statistics may not bear it out, but there's a feeling that we're not as safe as we used to be. People are telling me constantly, I want to see more patrols. I want to see more police officers going up and down our roads. That's important. But also important is that we catch the bad guys. And having facilities and having the tools that are necessary in order to get that done is essential to being able to keep us safe. And you've told us that public safety is important to you. And that's why it has to be important to us. Education. Education is one of the backbones of our community. We are proud of our schools. We protect our schools. We want to make sure that our schools are safe and that all of the children and even the adults that attend school have options and have a course of study that is reliable. And that's an important asset. And last, and public corruption. If we can't trust the people who we elect to tell us the truth and to behave themselves in a legal way, where are we going? And so we have to make sure that that's in place. This is a city that's never had a major scandal in our 64 years. That has to continue. That's a track record that has to continue. Parks. We are very, very protective of our parks. Not just because we recreate in our parks, not just because they're beautiful, but because they add to the quality of life. We have so many kids that are currently playing in our parks, not just from this community, but also from other communities, that they become mud pits. It's just too much play. And it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain them. And I'm going to talk to you about what we can do to make sure that our parks are at their proper level, not just for youth recreation, but also for adults to be able to take a walk, have, exercise equipment as they walk, that they can stop, that they can enjoy the sunshine, that they can enjoy living in Pembroke Pines, and that they have the view and the open space. Shouldn't everything be covered in concrete? We need some open space in the city. And so those things are important to you, so they are important to us. 6 months ago, I reviewed these with you at 13 different town hall meetings in every part of the city. We went through this chart. And we opened it up to, this is how we got here. We opened up the discussion so that you could add any additional ideas that you had, any additional suggestions that you might have, any additional comments that you might have. And we wrote down each and every one of them. And over the course of the last 6 months, the very, very talented staff that I'm about to introduce to you now went to work putting together a strategic plan for how to address all of those things. It's a historic moment. This is the first time the City of Pembroke Pines has ever built a strategic plan on the foundation of what its residents said they wanted. I want you to know that this strategic plan, the draft that we're about to present to you now for further comment, received the unanimous approval of the City Commission as a draft. Why? So that I would be authorized to present it to you. And so that's what brings us together today. We're going to go through the strategic plan based on what it is that you said you wanted us to do and to make a brighter future. The name of the plan is We Love Pembroke Pines, because that's a theme that carries from one end of the city to the other. There's something very special about our city. If you live here just even a short period of time, you can't help but to buy into the fondness of place, of where we live. It really is a very, very endearing place to live. It's not just the friendliness of the people. It's not just the spiritedness of our diversity. It's not just the variety of our commerce and our local economy. It's also the quality of life that we get to enjoy in our city. It's a great place to live, and there has to be a standard in order to keep it that way. Now, for those of you that have lived in South Florida for a while, you know that if you wander off into parts of Broward County or parts of Miami-Dade or parts of Palm Beach, let's just talk about this tri-county area. And you think back to what some of these communities were like years and years ago, and you contrast them to what they are now. There are occasions when you're going to be disappointed. And I'm here to tell you that when you're disappointed, visiting a community that you will recall being very different than what you see it now, there's only one reason. It's not who lives there. It's not how much money they made. It's about the planning that happened 20 or 30 years ago. The same thing that applies in your lives applies to government. You either plan to succeed or you should plan to fail. And the communities that keep their quality of life, the communities that keep moving forward, the communities that maintain their standards, do this in a planful way. And that's why this conversation is so very important. We love Pembroke. Just give me a second. We love Pembroke Pines, and so what we want to do is we want to keep that standard going. So, let me take a moment, if I could, to introduce some of the staff that are here. And that begins with our city manager, Charles Dodge, who's sitting in the back. He's been with us for a while, and he hasn't missed a beat. And we're thankful that he's here. I see our community services director, Jay Schechter, is here. They're very good about this. Hold the applause, and then I'm going to give you a chance to applaud them all. Our police chief, Jose Vargas, is here. Our fire chief, Marcelino Rodriguez, is here. Our director of communications, Marianne Wollard, is here. I see Mark Gomes, who's in charge of our purchasing department here. Assistant City Manager Christina Sorensen is here. Our City Attorney Sam Gorin is here, and he's here basically to make sure that I stay well behaved. Deborah Rogers is here. She is our City Clerk. I also see Mike Bailey, who's in charge of Utilities Department. He sends you great Pembroke Pines water. I see Marty Gajewski, who is our Deputy City Manager. I see Steve Buckland, who is our Public Services Director. I always miss you. I don't know why. I miss Assistant City Manager Lisa Chan, who is our Finance Director. And we also have a couple of incredibly special people to me. My colleagues, Vice Mayor Tom Good, who is sitting in the back, and also Commissioner Maria Rodriguez, who is here. And now you may applaud them. And we put together this program for you. We're going to go through a presentation, and please pay attention to it. And then after that, it's all you and your comments, and everything is going to be recorded, and this is being televised. So as we speak, we're live, and it's going to be recorded for those people who couldn't be here today so that they could see it online as well. Christina. Oh, here it is. Now, there's some handouts. If you haven't gotten a handout, would you please raise your hand? And they will, yes, I see it. And they will go through it. And now a video for you to watch.
Hello. Thank you for joining us at this public forum to discuss our draft strategic plan, We Love Pembroke Pines, a blueprint for a brighter future. City administration and the City Commission have been developing this plan for some time, and we're excited to share it with you and hear your thoughts. As we start, I'd like you to imagine what you'd like our city to look like in the next 5 to 10 years. What does a brighter future for Pembroke Pines mean to you? Keep that vision in mind as we go through the plan, and afterward, we want to hear from you, whether our vision aligns with yours, or if there are other ideas we should consider. The foundation of our blueprint began with community engagement, hearing from residents, businesses, and city employees through workshops, town halls, and surveys. This feedback helped create master plans in key areas. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan focuses on accessibility, park upgrades, programming, and environmental stewardship. The Public Art Master Plan integrates community-inspired art into public spaces. The Transportation Master Plan addresses traffic, transit, and pedestrian safety. The Economic Development Plan supports infrastructure, business growth, and workforce development. These plans, together with input received from Mayor Castillo's town hall tour, shaped our guiding principles: a vision of an inclusive, sustainable community with high quality of life and active resident engagement, and a mission to deliver quality services that support residents' well-being, economic growth, and sustainable development through transparent governance and community engagement. From this input, we established 7 strategic focus areas, which serve as the pillars of our blueprint for a brighter future, each with specific goals and strategies. Our first focus area is economic development. We aim to expand workforce housing options for our young people and seniors, keeping them in our community for the future. Additionally, we're committed to revitalizing underutilized properties and diversifying our local economy. By focusing on these areas, we aim to ensure accessible housing for residents, make the best use of our land, and build a more resilient economic foundation. In public safety, we are committed to enhancing the efficiency and capacity of our police, fire, and emergency management departments, while fostering community policing. Our goal is to provide our first responders with the resources needed to protect our community and to build stronger relationships between law enforcement and residents. For environmental sustainability, we are focusing on sustainable practices, improved waste management, and fighting incineration. Our vision is to implement eco-friendly initiatives and enhanced waste systems that reduces environmental impact, actively oppose harmful disposal methods, and promote a healthier, greener Pembroke Pines for future generations. In workforce development, we strive to recruit and retain a qualified, engaged workforce by offering ongoing training and development opportunities. This will help ensure that our team is well equipped to deliver high-quality services to our community. Through communications and marketing, we aim to develop a comprehensive communication plan and promote a unified city brand. We are working to strengthen connections with residents by improving outreach, transparency, and building an identity that truly reflects our community's unique character. Public infrastructure improvements are another key goal. We are focused on enhancing traffic flow, upgrading roadways, improving drainage, securing a safe water supply, and ensuring adequate street lighting to create a well-functioning, accessible city for all residents. Finally, public spaces and quality of life are central to our vision. We are committed to enhancing parks, beautifying our city with lush landscaping and street art, improving streetscapes, and organizing community events. These efforts will create a vibrant, welcoming environment where residents can connect, relax, and celebrate the unique culture of Pembroke Pines. In addition to these focus areas, our strategic plan incorporates advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels to secure support for the goals our residents have prioritized. Through dedicated advocacy efforts, we aim to bring more resources to our city and strengthen our ability to achieve the community-driven vision within this plan. Many of these goals are achievable through capital improvement projects. The draft strategic plan currently outlines $315 million in projects, with the complete list available on our website at ppines.com/blueprint. We structured our projects list into 5 main categories. Here are a few highlights. Public safety facilities is the first category, with a priority project to build a new police headquarters. Our community has outgrown our current facility, which, at over 40 years old, lacks the state-of-the-art technological advancements necessary to provide the highest level of service to our residents. A new headquarters will equip our police department with the modern resources and space it needs to better serve our community. Community facilities is the next category and includes projects to restructure the City Center Plaza for enhanced support for festivals and outdoor events, complementing our City Center venue. It also funds public art, which brings cultural, social, and economic value, reflecting our community's unique identity and evolving culture. Recreation facilities make up the third category, with improvements planned for every park citywide. These upgrades will include an expansion of pickleball courts throughout the city to meet growing demand. Other enhancements include new artificial turf soccer fields at West Pines Soccer Park, Chapel Trail Soccer Park, Flamingo Baseball Park, and Pasadena Football Park, splash pads at Maxwell Park, Memorial Park, and Silver Lakes South Park, full renovations of Rose Price Park and Cinnamon Place Park, new walking paths, and exciting new playgrounds. The fourth category, purchase and development of future spaces, dedicates funds to acquiring land for future parks, economic development, and workforce housing. Finally, roadway and infrastructure improvement projects were carefully chosen based on their ability to reduce traffic congestion and improve traffic flow. These projects feature road widening on 196th Avenue and 208th Avenue, drainage enhancements in Pembroke Lakes and other areas, resurfacing of all city roads, and new pedestrian paths, including a path along Palm Avenue from Pembroke Road to Sheridan Street. Nearly 8 miles of multimodal paths are also planned throughout the city, along with streetscape upgrades, bike lanes, and traffic calming measures such as roundabouts, road diets, raised crosswalks, and other road safety improvements. That's a quick overview of our draft strategic plan. Think back to the question I posed at the start about the future of Pembroke Pines. Did we capture your vision, or are there areas where we could improve? We'd love to hear your feedback on how we did. Both the draft strategic plan and project list are available on our website at ppines.com/blueprint. We encourage you to provide feedback either here today or via the feedback form on our website, by email at blueprint@ppines.com, or by calling us at 954-450-1020. The next challenge is determining how to fund the draft strategic plan. Currently, $50 million has been set aside for these projects, but additional funding will be necessary to complete all proposed initiatives. To address this, the City Commission is considering placing a ballot question for the March 2025 election. This question would allow voters to decide whether to approve a general obligation bond, which would fund the remaining projects outlined in the Blueprint for a Brighter Future. In preparation, the city will provide informational resources to help residents understand what the bond would entail. This includes details on the specific projects that would be funded, the potential financial impact on taxpayers, and how the bond would affect the city's budget. We encourage all residents to stay informed, attend public meetings, and review the materials provided to make an informed decision. This draft strategic plan reflects our community's vision and sets a clear direction for Pembroke Pines' future. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and working together to bring this vision to life. We will be here to answer every one of your questions. Thank you for your time and commitment to building a brighter future for our city.
So that's an overview of the plan. I'd like to ask Christina Sorensen if she could come up and talk to you a little bit about the handout that you've been given.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone.
Tom?
There we go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Sorensen. I am the Assistant City Manager and Director of Recreation and Cultural Arts. On your handout, this is a summary of the information that the mayor's going to go over, but it also is on our website. This black QR code, if you go to this link, this has all of the information for our strategic plan. This is our strategic plan here, which is why I don't have copies for all of you today. So go to our website and review it. It's in 3 parts. There is the summary strategic plan that goes over the focus areas. There's the implementation plan that talks about programs and policies and gets into some big detail on how we are going to accomplish the goals. And then there's the project list. And the mayor will go over them and briefly, all of them this evening for you. And on the back is another QR code. This is the green code. This is to our survey. We need your input on how we did. Tell us if you like it, if you don't like it, what you think we could do better. If there's anything that you don't want in there. This is important. This is gold to us, and this is what we want from all of you. So if you could please take time either tonight or tomorrow after you've had a chance to review the information and fill out that survey, it would be much appreciated. And I'll be here if any of you have any questions about the information on this handout.
Thank you very much. Okay, a couple more pieces of information important to you. Under the economic development area, this is where we're going to be focusing on the housing, the redevelopment of some of our more antiquated, let's call them, shopping areas, modernizing them, and potentially incorporating into them housing that our people can live in, affordable housing, above stores or in some other way, or the total rethinking of some of these areas to either provide more parks or more open space. In the public safety area, we talked about the need for a new police station. We're proud of our police department, but their police station is 40 years old. It is not hurricane rated. A serious storm could knock out the ability of the police department to function as it needs to. It is just too small for all of the police officers that we have. When it was built 40 years ago, the police department was maybe 1/3 the size of what it is today, and it's just a problem. Rising maintenance costs with this with this older building. The elevators are constantly broken. There are no parts for it. It's a problem. Technologically, it is obsolete, as we've mentioned before. Evidence storage is insufficient. The police department must store the evidence in order to do what it has to do in prosecuting cases. And right now, it is very, very difficult within that building to store all the evidence. They're using additional evidence space, and that's just not a good thing. And it's something that has to be addressed. Our police department is big on community engagement, very, very big. They want to see residents coming to the police station who aren't being arrested, who are there to partner with them in making a better city. And also, the same facilities can be used to train their police officers better. And so an upgrade to that operation is essential in order to keep tabs with where we're going. Under environmental sustainability, this is where we focus not just on the environment and open spaces, but also the quality of your water, the quality of the sewage systems, and open spaces. Our fight against incineration, our fight for a smarter way to deal with trash and recycling, among other goals. In the area of workforce development and support, we need to make sure that not just our staff, but the staff in the business community remains as sharp as we can have it. We know that the key to success is the ability to hire effectively. When we speak to the business community, they're constantly having difficulty finding staff who can do a job for what they're willing to pay. That when that's not possible, either the work doesn't get done or the pricing goes out the window. This is a very important issue for the city to be a leader. We can't do it all. Much of this is in the private sector, but we have a role to play in that, certainly among our own staff. In the area of communications and marketing, try as we have, and we have done a lot, particularly in the area of social media and communications. We want to be in constant contact with you. This is a city that prides itself on its transparency. We want you to know what we know. We want you to be well-informed citizens. Our city can't run well if you don't have the facts. And so we want to be able to constantly talk to you. We want to survey you. We want to ask your advice. We want you to become part of the management of the city, not just a recipient of governmental work. We're very, very clear about one thing. Government is here to work for you, not the other way around. However, you have a role to play as a citizen in making sure that the government that you've elected is delivering to you the services that you need and expect. Public spaces and quality of life. This is about creating new programs and events to celebrate our community's diversity. That has to occur. We have a beautiful pavilion out here, a plaza. In the afternoons and in the evenings, we have beautiful events. The way it's situated, it gets very, very hot in the afternoon because of the western exposure, and it's also too small for some of the large-scale events that we need. We want to make sure that there's some sun protection there so that the events can be more pleasant and more enjoyable, and also of a larger size, so that we can celebrate not just major holidays, but also the diversity of our city in a better and more comfortable way. We want there to be more events where you can come and join with the rest of your neighbors citywide and have some fun. That's important in a city. In terms of advocacy, we want to make sure that we are advocating at the federal, state, and local levels for as much money for the kinds of things that you need done as we can do, and also for the issues that are important to you. And so that is a big part of the plan. Now, much of what I'm saying right now doesn't have to be funded. Some of this is just the way we manage ourselves within the city. But your city commission is embracing all of that as part of this plan. I want you to know that the strategic plan is much more than, how much money we spend. It's also what work we do together in order to deliver a better city. Now, I want to pause for a second, and I want to tell you something that's very, very important. I'm not here to sell you a thing. Not one thing. You all told us what you wanted from your city. You told us. These folks went out there and they created a strategic plan. They think that with some tweaks, this basically captures what they think you meant. The purpose of this series of town halls that I'm going to be holding citywide is to sort of put our finger down on the button of, did we get it right? Are there a couple of things that we have to change? Do we have to move in a different direction? Was there something that was added in there that we should be taking out? Is there something that we missed that we need to put back in there? I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to try and get from you the important baseline of whether or not we are on the right track or not. Okay, so let's take a look at some numbers. We think that the police department tops will cost $120 million. If we can get it for less, we're going to try. We don't want to borrow any more than we need to. We don't want to pay any more than we have to. And that's been the attitude here on every single purchase, whether it's paper clips or anything else. We don't want to pay any more than we have to for what it is that we need. And that applies to every one of these categories. But we think it's going to come in at about $120 million. Had we done this 10 years ago, it would probably have been half the cost. But we didn't do it 10 years ago. New community facilities is part of what we were talking about in terms of the redevelopment of this plaza and other plazas. And it also includes a small amount of money for public art. This is a beautiful city. It's 64 years old. Except for the two statues over here and a couple of things, this is an unadorned city when it comes to art. And art is incredibly important. It separates cities. It distinguishes cities. I remember seeing an ancient Greek proverb about art. It sort of goes like this. Societies become great when old men plant trees under the shade of which they know they will never sit. It's amazing, right? That applies to so many different things in our lives, not just in our personal lives, but in our business lives. And we each, you think about when you go to world cities, if you've traveled or other places, some of the older cities, even in the United States, and you look at these amazing structures or these amazing public art pieces that you see there, and you say, wow, how impressive. Somebody actually did that. More likely than not, they're not around anymore. Every single generation has a responsibility to hand down to the next generation a community that's better than the one they found. I'm going to get to the public in just a second. You're going to be the first one I'm going to call on.
Thank you.
And the importance of that also relates in terms of property value. We know that it relates in terms of property value. And keeping your property value at the very highest is part of what the mission of every city is at. Okay, recreation improvements. We have beautiful parks. They all need to be redone. That's it. They're beat up. and they need to be redone in order to keep the standard of the city. Otherwise, we're going to sink in terms of the quality of the presentation of the parks that we have, not just for the benefit of our young people, but also for the benefit of every user, including the adult users in the parks. And there's a whole list of projects, that include and touch every single park in the city. Some more than others, because some need it more than others. But every single park in the city will be touched. The purchase and development of future spaces has to do with acquiring spaces that can continue to be either future parks or open space, or spaces where that we can acquire for the purpose of redevelopment into a better business environment, or for attainable and workforce housing for our own people. And that's an important component. Roadway and infrastructure improvements, by far the biggest category. We did a report here that was prepared by traffic engineers. It was the Pembroke Pines Transportation and Traffic Master Plan. It recommended $350 million worth of transportation improvements in Pembroke Pines. Every one of the projects was worthy. We just can't afford $350 million worth of improvements. We just can't afford it. Can't get our arms around it. And so we asked staff to go through it and to pick from them those projects that they feel will have the greatest impact in terms of improving traffic flow citywide. We think they did a pretty good job at selecting which ones those were. And these will improve traffic flow, they believe, from one end of the city to the other. And it includes the repaving of every city-owned road, which is long overdue. I was just talking to, I think it was you, about your community and how, the roads just have to be redone. A 30 or 40-year-old road that hasn't been redone before, it's time. Otherwise, you're going to get bumps in it. You're going to get potholes. Our standard will shift. The day that you or your neighbors choose to sell, people will look at the roads and they'll say, this is an unkempt place. And we start to fall into the category of cities that are depressing when we visit them. A city that plans to succeed wins. And a city that doesn't plan to succeed should plan to fail. So that is the plan in a nutshell. There are also capacity road expansion projects, drainage improvement projects, multimodal walk paths. We've got folks that use golf carts, and the problem is that they're not legal on a 4-foot, is it, Sam, sidewalk? The sidewalk has to be wider than 4 feet. The problem is that our standard sidewalk width is 4 feet. And so, but using a golf cart is actually good for the environment and fun. And it can be safe if the pathway is wide enough. You don't have to take your car everywhere. I'm not saying all of you go out and buy golf carts, but if you happen to have one, you should be able to take it to your local store. You might not be able to get to every community to do that, but we want to expand. It's true. And if you look at forward-moving cities, you're seeing more and more of this because they're easier to park, and they're fun and enjoyable. It adds a dimension to the city of Pembroke Pines that it doesn't currently have, unless you want to get pulled over by a cop. And that's really not what they want to do. So that's part of the discussion. Pedestrian walk paths. Road resurfacing, so important that we resurface every road that the city owns. School traffic calming devices, super important. In the eastern part of Pembroke Pines, people are constantly complaining about speeding. How many of you live in East Pembroke Pines? How many of you have complaints about speeding in your community that you see all the time? the way to deal with that is roundabouts. And it took us a while to come to that conclusion. But roundabouts don't change the character of in fact, they enhance the character of some of these older communities. But it requires that you slow down. Why? If you speed through a roundabout, you're going to kill yourself. So the roundabouts actually help to reduce the speeds while keeping the character of the community. So you don't have to put speed humps everywhere and that kind of thing. You don't have to hire a million more cops. It's self-enforcing because you created an environment that slows people down and forces them to respect the community more. So there are traffic circles in this plan, streetscapes to improve the look of our community, the curb appeal of our community. So important that we have a community that looks properly and that can withstand the test of time in terms of its appearance, and other traffic calming improvements. That is the plan that staff, based on your commentary, put together for you. We're not here to sell you anything. We're here to hear from you whether you think we've captured what you were looking for. And so now it's your turn to speak. And we're going to begin with this gentleman right over here. And I have some, you have one, and does somebody else want to volunteer on this side? I'm going to turn that mic on. And let's remember, we're on live TV.
Of course.
Yes, sir. Your name?
My name is Gil Lerner. I live in Walnut Creek, Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Welcome, Gil.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Castillo.
We're all ears.
Basically, I was just asking, where do you guys have a location for the new police department that you're already looking at to develop?
It's going to go exactly where the current one is. It's going to be built around occupancy. And as soon as the new portion of the building is built, they will move out of it. The old one will be knocked down, correct, Mr. Dodge? And then that will be built. That section will be.
2-3 phases of construction.
Okay. It's about 2 or 3 phases, yeah.
Okay, so at least I know where it's going. I was just curious to that. And,
Yeah, that's where it's going to go. Now, the fire station's going to stay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my other question was with respect to resurfacing all the city streets and not being able to completely meet the requirement or the recommendations of the traffic engineers to make a complete improvement. The improvements that we're choosing, are they going to bottleneck in certain places and sort of, you know, money wasted here versus?
It's a fair question. What we asked staff to do, because we couldn't get our arms around the total amount, and there were some projects in there that were controversial, like bridges and overpasses in the city and stuff like that that we've actually rejected. The staff put their arms around the whole thing, and they culled from that very, very comprehensive document the projects that they thought would have the greatest impact in terms of reducing traffic congestion, easing traffic flow, and providing greater safety by repaving all of the roads, making sure that the lines were properly, down and all that other kind of stuff. So that's those are the ones that they picked. Now, how they sequence the projects in, that is where the art of being an engineer comes in. Because you have to, obviously, if you have pipe to lay, that has to go underneath the ground before you surface the road. They have that experience. I just want to mention, this is a city that has done this kind of work before. In 2005, some of you may recall, we had a bond issue. And it was carried out, I was here at the time, and it was carried out pretty well. Really, really was. The projects came in ahead of schedule, and most of them came in under budget. And it took about 8 years, Mr. Dodge, but the majority of it was done in 5. They were very, very good at putting these projects together and getting them done very, very quickly. And, but mostly what you'll see happening first is the series of the transportation projects.
Just with all due respect, the last question related to this subject is, I know that the staff that has worked on these projects individually are experts at what they do, but nonetheless, I don't think we should disregard a party that we've paid, I'm sure, to assess the total requirement for the city, and it maybe take a second look at that opinion before we put a seal stamp on what one particular privatized group, if you will, and maybe I'm not labeling it properly, to...
You want a second look?
Yeah.
Let's write that down. Let's challenge the assumptions in a second look. And all that can do is make the plan stronger.
Well, basically,
I agree with you.
just trying to see what work is being done, and
It's a very sensible suggestion, and we're
for
going
better or worse,
to do it.
but obviously.
And I
for
thank you
better.
for that. That's a very astute observation. In fact, I think we should second guess the whole thing and make sure that every single component in there is looked at. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that.
Hello, hello. Robert Garcia. I live in Chapel Trail in West Pines. And
Welcome.
I feel like every time I come to City Hall, it's about a different subject. And I feel like this presentation kind of captured a lot of that feedback over the years. Moved back to Pines in 2016. I grew up here. I remember the 30th anniversary, all that hoopla when the city turned then, so you can guess age now.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, there's a few comments, but when I see affordable housing on there, we've had a lot of growth in the city. I remember when, going west of Flamingo Road was considered an adventure and a safari going out there, the sportatorium and all that, being torn down, and okay. But now we have a situation where the city's very mature. It's at build out, there's redevelopment opportunities, but a lot of it is lease or rental. It's not purchase. And so when I own my home. I've owned it now almost a decade. But a lot of folks younger than me are never going to have that chance at home ownership in the city the way things are going. And so I think that's one thing that definitely in the blueprint I'd like to see addressed with how these units are being approved. I think a lot of the townhouses in West Pines have been a positive step because almost exclusively they are for sale. They are not for rent. So that's something that a piece of feedback on that.
They started about 700,000.
I know they do. But the fact is, if you're forever a renter, you'll never have equity and you'll never be able to maintain the standard of living to stay in Pines unless
That's a fair viewpoint.
Okay, so I understand the high price point, but Pines, after Andrew, when everything went up, a lot of it was less expensive, and over time now, those houses are quite worth more in their equity. So
There's a bunch of them that are worth 1.5 million now.
that's the way people build wealth in this country.
Yeah.
That's the reality for the
That's
middle class.
true.
That's the most accessible way.
Yes, sir, you're correct.
Second thing, I know I have over the years commented on the Pembroke Road expansion.
Yep.
I'm really excited about that. I think it's a project that's worthwhile for us and for Miramar. The sales tax may have a role in that. So hopefully the county, if they're listening, does what they need to do and gets this on the road.
Yes, sir.
Widening of 208 and the extension. Obviously 208 passes right in front of my door. Okay? That bike path on the side, that multi-use path, is extremely valuable for the two schools that surround my neighborhood. And I use it. Most of my neighbors use it every day. It's one of the most actively used paths, I think, in the city with pedestrian and cycling traffic. A lot of people don't realize that. When we're talking about the widening of 208, and I've offered this feedback, but I want to make sure it's captured today, I have a really large concern with turning what is currently a neighborhood arterial into potentially a 4-lane road, especially with speeding and if it gets widened to 4 lanes. I know I saw a rendering that looks like that feedback has been taken and iterated to where it's parking available on the sides. That would be something that for me would be much more appetizing, just because it would meet a lot of the needs in the area and allow the school parents to have a safe place to queue when they're waiting to go to one of the schools. So feedback directly on that. In terms of the bond issue, I was around for earlier bonds in the city's history, and observing them, I have a high amount of confidence that there's a reason why the public corruption is very low, right? That's a low concern here compared to other places. I have a very strong feeling and confidence that the city is listening, is iterating the feedback, and has competent people to professionally turn things around and create it. So as long as the conversations continue, I feel like there'll be success. But in terms of the projects, the costs, I look at peer cities all around southern Florida and even into central Florida, and I don't see anything that looks strange to me.
Right.
Especially we're an older city now, we're more mature, and I don't see a situation here that screams to me. City of Cape Coral had to do something similar with their police department, and it was, oh my God, they went through Charlie. This tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah.
They had a failure of their roof.
Yeah.
And the police department basically was uninhabitable for a while. So I would rather us stay ahead of it, like you said, but I'm really happy with the blueprint. And to the commissioners that are here, my commissioners here, the vice mayor, I really want to see, and I've offered this for the previous commissions, I want to see the leadership continue to be positive, engaged, and I want to see us take our rightful place in this metropolitan area. We are in the top 5 in population. We're the second largest city in this county. We need to act like it. We shouldn't let Fort Lauderdale drive the bus. We shouldn't be dumping it on other co-cities. We need to wear our big boy and big girl pants and play our role. So that's my 3 cents on a bunch of things.
I want to thank you for that, and I also want to ask you, if you could, please email me tomorrow with your contact information as we begin having the discussion on 208th and Pembroke Road. I'd like to include you if you're willing. I want to make sure that that the road improvements or any improvement that we do to the city is an asset, not a burden, to the surrounding communities. And there are ways to do that. And we want to make sure that we get it right, not just for the people in the cars, but for the people in the houses. So I want to have that conversation with you, and I'm inviting you, if you will, if you're willing, please email me tomorrow with all of your information, and I guarantee you will be part of that discussion as we get into the further discussion about 208 and Pembroke Road. And I thank you for your comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Michelle Stone. I live in Walden Lakes. I've lived there for 16 years. And I want to say a lot of work obviously has gone into the plan. It largely captures what I would envision for the city. I am an advocate for Pembroke Pines. I'm a big proponent of everything here. I use the parks, I walk daily, I come to the events here. So I'm active in this community, very active. The one comment I wanted to make, and perhaps it's part of advocacy, but one of the primary issues I see for home affordability is the insurance rates. And I don't know how you guys are addressing that, if it's part of an advocacy or because that's what's pricing a lot of people out of their homes.
Thank you for bringing that up, and let me give you as clear a response as I can to that. So the city attorney will tell you, there was a point in time when we actually got involved. We were so frustrated at the inaction that we were getting on insurance rates, and all of us pay more. I'm paying like 45% more. I just got another bump this year. I mean, the amount of money that we're paying to insure our homes is just incredible. And it's very frustrating to me because I know that in Tallahassee we have leadership that's trying, that's working hard, but they're just not focused on this. They're focused on other things, and it's very, very frustrating. It just seems very clear to me that even in a storm-prone state like ours, we should not have to pay as much as we're paying.
It's almost as much as Connecticut now.
And that says a lot. And so I have to tell you that there are certain things that you can get from your city, and there are certain things that you can only get from the state, and there are certain things that you will only get from the federal government. We pick up your garbage, we can't fight the wars. I wish we could. Well, sometimes I do. We provide you with water and sewer service, but we can't do insurance. The entire field of insurance is occupied by the state. Cities just don't have, am I off base, Sam? Cities are just not part of the legal authority to deal with that. But we can advocate for you. And part of what we have to do is advocate on the basis of what people are saying. I've heard this comment so often that I think it's important that in our legislative agenda at the state, we ask the state to do something truly important about dealing with homeowner insurance. And I can tell you that for my part, we're going to advocate for that. So I thank you for that question. However, we can do something about roads because the state won't help us there. We can do something about our parks because the state won't help us there, nor will the feds. They have their own work to do.
And I also live right near, well, I live in Walton Lake, so I'm sure.
Maybe you two can join up when we have this conversation about 208th. I'm a big believer in bringing people in who are affected by an issue and finding the way, the win-win for everybody. So we will include you, and I encourage you to email me as well so that we have that information. When we get to 208th, you will be contacted. Okay? Yes, sir, in the back.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I live in Boulevard Heights. I had a question about the park upgrade with the pickleball courts.
Yeah.
Will it affect like any of the wildlife in the area, or is it just like improving tennis courts to pickleball, or how does that work out?
Christina?
Yes, we are converting tennis courts into pickleball. We are not going to create new ones. Or if we do create them, it'll be in a park that is existing. It won't affect wildlife.
So the only wildlife it'll affect is the tennis players? Or?
Correct.
Thank you for that question. It's an important issue. Wildlife is an important issue in our city. Yes, sir.
My name is Jack McCluskey. I have a suggestion. We have a unique feature that runs north to south in Pembroke Pines. It's called the FPL easement.
Yeah.
The city owns it. The city got it many years ago by the action of the P&Z board at the time. That is a spot that can be used in increments from Sheridan to Taft, Taft to Johnson, so on. That if the city will get with FPL and find out exactly what they will allow under that easement. It's a perfect place for a walk path. It can be 5 foot wide, which accommodates your go-kart. But anyway, that's
Golf
a
cart.
suggestion.
Golf cart. I remember the go-karts.
Go-kart, same thing, different venue.
Remember those
Anyway.
with the roller skate wheels and whatnot?
Anyway, you
Showing
can,
my age. Go ahead.
this park could extend from 23rd Street on south to Pembroke Road. And the neighbors will not mind if you put hedges up and so on and so forth on either side for those that need it.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Mr. Dodge, maybe we can take a look at it. I know that one of those areas is the Jack McCluskey Park,
Yeah.
is underneath it's named in your honor. And it's under the easement. We also have the dog park that is under there. I don't know what else we could do. I don't think we could put any housing or anything because
No,
it has to be
any-
open.
No
In fact,
housing.
much of the parking here is under the
Right.
easement. So I don't think they'd allow a use that would interfere with their ability to get up into their wires. But I'm happy to take a look.
You can't build much
Right.
there at all,
Right.
but it's a perfect walk path, run path, low bushes, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
No, I just want if you can elaborate more in the new community facility, something for senior. The senior center over here is wonderful, but it's too small. People are living longer, and parking is terrible. Events, there is only a few tickets. Not everybody could go because the capacity is very small. So I'd really appreciate you do something for the seniors.
Entiendo completamente.
Here is a 5-star senior center.
It is a 5-star senior center, and I appreciate that. Deborah, you got that one? That is not currently in the plan, and maybe it needs to be. I thank you for that suggestion. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, good to be here with you this evening. My name is Tim Griffith, one of the officers of the Malibu Bay HOA Association. I see we have one of our other officers here tonight, Mr. Garcia. My question is two-part. In lieu of where we are now, where the city of Pembroke Pines is now, and as pertains to this strategic plan, how will we be able to attract larger companies, Fortune 500 companies that will be able to come and build base here so that we can, our residents in Pembroke Pines can have more jobs? Is this plan inclusive into attracting those larger companies to come here so that we can have more jobs? Second question for you, Mr. Mayor, is we always hear this term of affordable housing. And I would like to get a number from you, an amount of what is affordable housing. We hear that key term, it sounds good, but what is that number for affordable housing?
Affordable housing is defined as a third of your net income.
That number is, just could you give me that number, what affordable,
It depends.
as it pertains to this?
Everybody's number is different. But if let's say your take-home pay net is $30,000, the traditional definition is a third of that, so no more than $10,000. And the reason for that is it's the rule of threes. I learned this at HUD when I worked there, and the rule of threes is at every level, if you're paying a third of your of your income for housing and a third of your income for expenses, you should be able to save a third of your income, more or less. There'll be a vacation, there'll be a car, something will happen, but you won't be in the situation where you're paying half of your disposable income or more in housing, and then you have to make a choice. Do I get the car fixed, or do I lose my job? Do I get the car fixed and lose my job, or do I pay my rent? That's the danger zone when you're housing poor. And right now what we have is we've got 1 bedrooms in Pembroke Pines going for $2,500 a month. I never had a mortgage that big. And yet this is what young people are confronting right now. And that's why, even though we raised them as children in the best of parks, in the best of schools, and in the best of communities, when they get to young adulthood, and it's time for them to begin to walk their path into independent living, they have to leave us. A sustainable community is a community in which, whatever stage of life you're in, you can live there. And if the going salaries for our area are such that you can't afford to live here in the beginning of your life, all of the investment that we pour into our own kids, our own grandkids, they're going to take that elsewhere. So every community has this challenge, and it's a challenge that by and large has grown because nobody wants to deal with it. But we're Pembroke Pines, and we have to be thinking differently. Whatever it is that happens in other places, here in Pembroke Pines, where we put our heads down on our old pillows, when we kiss our kids and our grandkids to sleep here, stuff has to make sense. And making sure that our kids have the opportunity to continue to live in Pembroke Pines, if they choose to, for as long as they live, is what makes a community great. Similarly, you get into your senior years, and we're seeing people live into their hundreds regularly now. Medical science is keeping them alive. Many of them are outliving their own kids, outliving all of their friends, and outliving the nest egg that they thought was going to be enough in their gray hairs. And then they're stuck with a Social Security payment that's based on what their earnings were in 1975. And it just doesn't, it's not enough. They should have the option of being able to continue to live in the city they're from, because this city found a way to make sure that they had a place to be there. Now, it might not be the Taj Mahal. You might not have a swimming pool with a diving board. You might not need it at that age, but it's a decent, safe, clean, secured, good neighbor place to live. That's a city that is sustainable. And that's what folks are telling me is missing in Pembroke Pines. We're here to ask you if we're interpreting you correctly. But the answer to your question, it's a third of what you earn. That's what affordable means in terms of housing. You had another question.
Yeah, I know of the strategic plan that you talked about tonight, staff is on. How are we with where we are currently now in this plan with attracting
Major businesses.
yeah, so that, you know,
Look,
people have jobs?
it's you might be able to tell from my accent. I'm from New York City, and it boggles my mind why someone would live in Nutley, New Jersey, or Greenwich, Connecticut, or Staten Island, when they could be here in the sun, in shorts and a T-shirt year-round, enjoying this beautiful weather, and in the age of the internet, with no income tax, and all of the beauty that goes on here. It boggles my mind that we have not had more major corporate headquarters moved to Florida. Even still, the job of that economic development falls mainly to counties. This is a suburb city. We are a bedroom community with different areas. I don't think you'll ever see skyscrapers here, office buildings, that kind of thing. That's just not who we are. Our job is to house people who, by and large, work elsewhere. Many of them continue to live here, but our job is a bedroom community where we come home to raise our families. That's been what we do. Now, if I got a call from IBM and they wanted to open up an executive center in Pembroke Pines, would we say hell no? No, of course they're welcome, but we're not getting those kinds of calls. The job of Broward County is to bring people in terms of these businesses. The state has economic development funds. The city really doesn't provide funds. But let me tell you a little bit something about economic development in that sense of attracting businesses. There's really only two ways to do it. You can either steal them or you can bribe them. You either create new businesses that you steal from another place, and you're expanding the pie of the economic development, and you make room for it here, or you pay a business that's currently set up somewhere else to move to you through incentives, tax abatements, cash on the table, whatever. All of it legal, by the way. Our attorney will tell you. But there's really only two ways to do that. You either the hard way or the easy way. The hard way is to come up with something new that currently isn't being purchased in terms of a good or service, and you bring it into your community, or you find an existing business and you persuade them, let's put it that way. You persuade them through incentives to come and move into yours. Those things are sort of by and large, not completely, but sort of above the pay grade of cities. Those are activities that are basically generally done by counties and states. So, but we can advocate for it. We can tell them we're open for business if these things come our way. We can tell them that. The good thing about us in terms of our business community, it's very, very vibrant. But yeah, we've got box stores and that kind of thing. But we are an incubator and a very well-recognized small business community. I was talking to this gentleman over here who has a business called The Escape. It's a place where people go to recreate. Is that fair? And it's an exciting small business. There are thousands like that. We have Patty Archer, who's the president and CEO of the Miramar Pembroke Pines Chamber of Commerce. I attend 5, 6 ribbon cuttings a week, it seems to me, with her, of new businesses coming into the city of Pembroke Pines. Most of them small businesses, not all, but most of them small businesses. Pembroke Pines is a place where there are a lot of small businesses, and they hire people. So that's really sort of where our niche has been. I hope that helps answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hi, my name is Jacqueline, and I've lived in Pembroke Pines for about 35 plus years, so that's kind of dating myself, but I love the city of Pembroke Pines, so thank you for doing this. I'd really like to advocate for the senior center. It's a wonderful place. It needs help also as far as facilities to expand and to also give back to the community, because it's a great place for learning and to keep the elderly active.
Mm-hmm.
My mom is part of that community as well. So I'd like to say that. And then also workforce. We have some skilled elderly that could maybe volunteer that might help with the workforce development and support. And also advocating for young adults, putting back into our community that local high schools offer maybe more internships, job shadowing at places like The Escape and things like that, so that they want to stay in Pembroke Pines and live here and invest in the community.
Yes, ma'am.
So just a suggestion that
I
we
think
tap
I
into.
think it's a great idea, and it has been discussed at the city commission before. There's an initiative that's coming now to organize volunteerism and to harness the power of that and to get more internships and those kinds of things. We are discussing that on the city commission, and I think that's a wonderful suggestion. And I agree with you about the senior center, and we're gonna look to see how that can be incorporated. I thank you for that. Couple more comments. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Anton Pustavar. I live in West Pines in Chapel Lakes Estates, and I've been living there for 23 years. And I have a question. Is there anything we can do about noise enforcement with these loud cars that have illegally modified exhaust? Because it seems like whenever I'm outside now that it's cool, it's just all I hear is the either roar of those cars driving by, either down the street on 184th or on Pines, sometimes at 2 in the morning, racing, or either the loud airplane over the head. So, I mean, we have 4 statutes in Florida about exhaust, and there's a specific one that 316.293 prohibits vehicle modifications that result in louder noise made by vehicles as originally manufactured, and prohibits the operation of some modified. So I was just wondering that if maybe we can have police write some more tickets. For example, Southwest Florida just started writing $600 tickets.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Sam, you got that citation? Go ahead.
Yeah, so Southwest Florida started a movement that they persuaded the city to start enforcing, loud exhaust cars. And so I was wondering if maybe we can do something like that here, because it seems to be more and more prevalent, especially among with young teenagers and like people, especially men under 30, that seem to be driving these illegally modified cars.
I want to tell you, I want to look into that myself.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate if you would do this for me. Mm-hmm. If you would take the time to email me tomorrow or the day after and list all of this research that you've done. I'd like to have it in writing so that I can begin meeting with staff about it. I'm very, very interested in what you've just said. We do get a lot of noise complaints. The city does have a noise ordinance. It's entirely possible that it needs a scrub in order to give the police department the tools that it needs in order to better enforce noise. And I promise to stop driving down your block on my motorcycle. And I want to thank you for that. I'll be looking forward to your email, Anton. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'll be right with you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much for greeting me tonight. My name is Jean-Marc Torrard. I live in Century Village. I've been living in South Florida for the past 36 years. I've been moving back and forth between Miami-Dade and Broward County many times. I used to be a former resident of Pembroke Pines before. I'd like to talk about quality of life and sustainability, and I strongly agree what the gentleman mentioned about noise and modified car that makes lots of noise. I live in Century Village, close to Pines Boulevard, and it's very noisy, very, very noisy. Recycling meant a lot to me. I came from Miami Springs in Miami-Dade, has a recycling program. I'm like the lady said to you, it breaks my heart when I dump my garbage every day and I dump everything, glass, plastic, tins, aluminums. Really breaks my heart. I really hope in that plan that we're gonna be able to bring back some recycling program in the city. We definitely need it. As far as sustainability and quality of life, I travel a lot in the country and international also. I love the city centers that I find in many places, not far away. Doral, Coral Gables has Miracle Miles. Doral has city center with big pedestrian streets that have been now cut off from traffic and be used by pedestrian when there's nice places to go to for dining, ice cream, and enjoying a nice night out. So I'm just wondering if in the master plan there's a way to perhaps further develop the city center in Pembroke Pines here to make it more enjoyable and pedestrian friendly to enjoy a nice night out with the family. As far as sustainability, also, I strongly believe in sustainability myself. I drive an electric car I've been driving an electric car for the past 7 years. I'd like to see more sustainability in the city. I'm looking at the city of Weston also, where my children are living, when they have LED street lights in the city of Weston. They have solar panels also to reduce the energy bill in the city. And I'd like to see eventually more electric cars being used by the city, by the public works, perhaps by the police department. Are they a bit more expensive sometimes to buy? Yes, but in the long terms, they don't require maintenance, and they will be way more affordable and easier to use for our city also.
I want to thank you for those comments. We have written them all down, and we're going to take a look at it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was street lighting. Pembroke Pines is notoriously dark on our streets, and also in many of the parking lots for the businesses. You get this yellowish sort of light that's just not penetrating the dark of the evening. Some people just don't feel safe, and sometimes it's disorienting when you're driving. And one of the items in this work plan under safety is the better illumination of our streets. So it wasn't listed here, but I want you to know, because you brought it up, is that better illumination has been a theme that the City Commission has been talking about for a number of years now, and it is incorporated as part of this plan. But I wanted to thank you for that, and also for the comments about the electric vehicles. It is definitely something we're looking at. The city is now acquiring our replacement school buses are going to be electric. Our replacement, many of the replacement cars that we're going to have are going to be electric because they save money. They save money, especially with gas prices the way they are. I don't know that we can do that with the police. I'm sort of looking at the chief. He's not. There are performance questions with respect to those, but we will take a look. We will take a look at all of that, and I very much thank you for your questions. I have time for 2 more comments, and you're one of them.
Hi, Lily Mazurik, Cedar Woods, 36 years. Love it here.
I love that city.
Yeah.
Love that community.
Yeah, me
As
too.
one of the best views in all of the city.
It is.
As you look down that major lake with the pine trees, it's just,
And the Boyds, a lot of Boyds.
for me, it's just beautiful.
2 things, housing and the community center. If I'm understanding what I heard here tonight, so housing would be built above some of the shops?
It could.
Possibly.
There are a lot of different models.
Okay, and then the other thing I understood was purchasing land to build on, fresh, right? Is there an idea of where that acreage might be?
No.
No, okay.
But
Just curious.
if the plan for the affordable housing is sound, it can go anywhere.
Okay.
Where it will pencil out. The project has to pencil out.
Right.
So otherwise it can't be affordable.
I was just curious if there was already an idea about it.
No.
Okay.
No.
Our community center, hi Jay. I thought a few years ago the word senior was dropped from the community center and it was considered a community center as opposed to a senior center. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, we are,
Yes, go right ahead.
we are still a senior center, Lily, but we use that word community center. It attracts more people. Nobody wants to be a senior except if you're in high school.
And you're doing the spelling bee.
And you win.
Yes. Okay,
We are
I was
very
just.
much a senior center.
You're still considered a senior center. Okay, I was just curious because I thought I had heard a change, and I thought that more programming would be brought in for the community, meaning kids, teens, blah, 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 but it only stayed at the senior level. So I was just wanting to clear that up. The other thing is I definitely advocate for expansion or something there because the classrooms are so tiny and so crowded. People have been turned away. I've been jammed up against people. You can't really do an activity when you're jammed like that. Parking lot is ridiculous. No space at all. It needs some lifeblood.
Yes, ma'am. I'm hearing it more and more, and we're going to have to take a look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And it makes total sense. You know, did any of you look at did any of you see the Sun Sentinel article the other day about the senior crisis that's happening? We're getting more and more people. This is the first time in the nation's history that they're projecting that by about 2034, there will be more people over the age of 65 than people under the age of 18. And let me tell you what part of the struggle is. So when they created Social Security, just as an example, there could be many examples of this. Social Security was a pyramid. People were working on the bottom for the few people on the top that were collecting. The pyramid is now like this. There are many people collecting and fewer people working. So this is a major issue that the United States and every community is going to have to deal with. But certainly the prospect of the senior center being overcrowded and needing more space and all that other kind of stuff, that should surprise no one. It should surprise no one. First of all, he runs a heck of a senior center. And it's super popular. People love going there. And the staff there is wonderful. Yeah. It's top notch. And so we're going to have to take a look at that. And I thank you for bringing that up. I have time for one more comment. Yes, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Mayor? My name's Richard.
Hi, Richard.
Just to piggyback off the questions, with the affordable housing, how high are you trying to build?
I don't know. It depends on, certainly, I think the building height restriction is 100 feet in Pembroke Pines. So that's probably, what, 8 stories, six stories, something like that. But I have no idea what the configuration would be. All of that would be about engineers and architects, and depends on the space and everything else, and is a plane going to fly into it, and the FAA and all that other kind of stuff. We don't have those answers
We're
yet.
not trying to go over that as kind of a question.
No.
Okay.
No. There's no interest in that. That I know of. There's no interest in that I know of. Any other questions? Okay. So, I have to ask you now, are we on the right track? What you've seen, does this basically capture what you were looking for? I need to hear some sounds. Yes. Okay, all right. So this is basically capturing what you were hopeful to see? Okay, that's good. And we will take that information back with us. There's one last thing I have to do. This is a great community, and the name of the plan is We Love Pembroke Pines. So now I have to ask you, why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Well, I've been here long enough. It's just generally a great community.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Ice cream parlors.
That's good. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
The parks and the people.
Parks and the people. How about you? Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I think it's a great place to raise family, do business, and prosper.
Good for you. How about you? Why do you love Pembroke Pines? I know you have you don't live in Pembroke Pines, but you have a business in Pembroke Pines. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Higher than average disposable income.
There you go. That's a good business answer. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's clean, and I mean the air as well as the streets. It's beautiful with the parks, and everything seems accessible.
Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I love the community. Community's really great here.
How about you?
I love that it's family oriented, and I've lived there so long. I love the people.
Okay. How about you, sir? Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I love it because it's a great place for the kids, and I love the parks and being so close to nature.
How about you?
Same thing. Great place to raise your family and to feel part of a community.
Feel part of a community. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
The green spaces.
The green spaces.
Yep.
How about you?
Parks.
The parks.
Yep.
Parks. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I work for Pembroke Pines. I love Pembroke Pines.
She loves Pembroke Pines because she works for us. Why do you love Pembroke Pines? Now you lived in Pembroke Pines, you moved away and you moved back. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
I always came back to Pembroke Pines. I love the community, but what brought me back recently was I could only afford to buy a property in Century Village, which I could not buy anywhere else. For me, it was the most affordable place I could buy, and that's what brought me back here.
Well, welcome back. We're glad you're here. Jack McCluskey, why do you love Pembroke Pines?
It's home, and I've lived here for 55 years. So.
55 years. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Community and schools.
Community and schools. Why do you love Pembroke Pines?
My close-knit neighborhood of Pembroke Lakes and all the parks nearby. And now I have everything nearby. We've had so many things.
Everything's nearby. Commissioner, why do you love Pembroke Pines?
Because all of you, thank you so much for taking a Tuesday evening after a very long week, I imagine, to come out and be part of this community.
Yes, and I agree with her. I love Pembroke Pines because I get to share it with all of you. And let me tell you what I mean by that. This is a community of people who are not afraid to speak up. I love that about Pembroke Pines. You're not afraid to speak up. But when you speak up, you don't just want to complain, you want to solve things. You speak up for a reason. And that makes me very, very proud to be your neighbor and very, very proud to be your mayor. Thank you very much. And we're going to take all of your input and include it. Enjoy your evening.